Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. They gave leadership to our foreparents, and that leadership made them slaves. But we have decided to find a leadership of our own to make ourselves free men.
This is an emergency. You must know or sense that the hour is late. Do not be lulled to sleep at this critical hour. You must act with a sense of urgency and gravity. Even if your group has been given lip service to black liberation and not working to build independent institutions based on righteousness, the time is up for playing revolutionaries. It is time for radical and epic action and change. There's only one solution to the black dilemma, and that is to come out of this beast and establish our own independent nation. We have been stuck in the paralysis of analysis for long enough and glorying in our past great contributions and accomplishments. But it's time today to demonstrate to the world that we are no longer children who need someone else to govern us, but are ready to step up and grow up and do the things, as Marcus Garvey said, that others are doing for themselves, for ourselves. There can be no security, there can be no dignity for the black man and woman otherwise. We cannot continue to beg and demand from our conquerors that which we must give and do for ourselves. Without independence, there can be no justice. Without independence, there can be no peace. Without independence, there can be no true freedom or equality. All of our cherished leaders have brought this same message. It now comes time for us as a people to take heed and actually act on their sound warnings and urgings, and stop simply quoting them and pouring libations to them if we are not willing to do their work.
We have to stop all of this nonsense about who belongs to what religion when all of them were imposed on us in the first place. We stop all this fight between Muslims and Christians when neither one of the religions are doing them any good or moving them toward independence. Understand me well. I am saying that every single thing that touches your life, religious, socially, and politically, must be an instrument of your liberation, or you must throw it into the ash can of history.
Our time is now. Now is the time for us to declare our independence and truly be free. When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands with which connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitled them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the cause which impelled them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent to be governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, It is the right of the people to withdraw their consent from said government and to institute a government laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly, all experience have shown that black people are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the form to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of black people, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present government is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over black people. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. 1. We were brought here as captives and subjected to the most savage and inhumane system of exploitation known to man. 2. Our basic rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, though assured to our white brethren, have been repeatedly and consistently denied and repressed. 3. We live in constant fear of loss of life of both our persons and that of our beloved offspring. 4. The image of black people is denigrated and criminalized by your media, which causes people of other races to view us as lazy, immoral, and criminals. 5. Drugs and guns have been brought into our communities to accelerate the planned auto-genocide of black people. 6. The food in our communities is of such a poor quality that our people suffer a disproportionate amount of disease and premature death. 7. Our children are forced to attend public schools which historically miseducate them and or graduate many as functional illiterates. 8. A disproportionate number of our children are in prison for victimless crimes which permanently limit their ability to provide for themselves and their families. 9. Unemployment is rampant in our communities with no hope of improvement in sight, all because of an economic system that systematically denies opportunities to our people. 10. Our labor has been exploited for centuries, yet we have been denied our undeniable rights to reparations. 11. Planned Parenthood has been brought into our communities and is responsible for millions of black babies being aborted and therefore murdered. 12. You stole our history, our identity, our culture, and you forbid us to practice our traditional pattern of family life. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here, and that we were kidnapped, held captives, and exploited. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, murders, and injustices, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of humanity and mankind, enemies in war and peace, friends. We therefore, the representatives of the Black nation in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the Black people of America, solemnly publish and declare that Black people are and of a right ought to be free and independent, that they are absolved of all allegiance to the government of America, and that all political connection between them and the U.S. Inc. is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent people, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may have right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortune, and our sacred honor.